All right, students, let us discuss the answers for acceptance. Now, I hope you have attempted the questions on your own. Yes? Okay, so let us discuss the answers. Ramaswamy proposed to sell his house to Ramanathan. Whenever I read the question, I always identify name of the parties, whether they are buyer or seller. I always identify who is the buyer, seller, or employer or employee, some kind of relation, master servant. I always establish a relation because then it becomes very easy when you read the entire question. So Mr. Ramaswamy proposed to sell his house to Mr. Ramanathan. So Ramaswamy is the seller and Ramanathan is the buyer. Mr. Ramanathan sent his acceptance by post. Next day, Ramanathan sent a letter withdrawing his acceptance. Examine the validity of acceptance. If the telegram of revocation of acceptance was received by Ramaswamy before the letter of acceptance, and what when both reached together. Now, we had discussed everything in detail in our lecture. This is an application of that concept. Now, Ramaswamy proposed to sell his house to Ramanathan. All right. So, the buyer also conveyed his acceptance, but then he decided to revoke the acceptance. Now, the telegram reached even before the letter of acceptance. That is what we wanted. That is why the revocation must always be sent by a faster means of communication, and that was our intention, that the telegram should reach before the letter of acceptance. So if the telegram has already reached, then the acceptance is revoked. Even after that, if the buyer wants to accept the offer, he cannot, because the revocation was received earlier. So in this case, you will write about the communication of revocation, communication of acceptance. Communication of acceptance is complete. All right, then the communication of revocation is complete. So you will write when is the acceptance complete, when is the revocation complete, and then you will explain that revocation is valid, because here they have asked sub question A. So my analysis and conclusion will also have sub question A. Then I will identify the sub question B. The telegram and the letter of acceptance both reach together, then whichever letter is opened first. So if the letter of revocation is opened first, then the acceptance is revoked. But if the letter of acceptance is opened first, then it is definitely accepted. So whether a contract is formed or not depends upon whichever letter is open first. But what do you think a rational person, what do you think a rational person will open first? Definitely a rational person will open the telegram first, because he's so curious to see what was the urgency. Why did the other person send a telegram? So of course he will open the telegram first. So in this case, logically speaking, a rational person, a person with good judgment, he will open the telegram first. If he opens the letter first, then the revocation is not possible. But if he opens the telegram first, then the acceptance is revoked. What if he opens the letter of acceptance first, then the offer is accepted, you cannot, then the revocation will be invalid. You need to write the theory properly. I know it is sometimes difficult to write in your own words. You can, sorry, it is difficult to write what is given in the textbook, so you can write it in your own words, no problem. This will 99% be a 4-mark question. If I were the examiner, I would give 2 marks for writing the provision, 1 for writing the analysis A and B, 1 mark for each sub question if you have correctly answered that. So that is how I would distribute the marking scheme. I will never give you marks for facts of the case, that is just paper presentation. Acceptance must be absolute and unqualified, absolute and unconditional. It should be unqualified. Acceptance should be as it is, offer must be accepted as it is. Acceptance must be a mirror image of offer. This is purely theory question, and this will also be 99% asked for 4 to 5 marks. If it is asked for 4 marks, 2 marks for each, or 2.5 if it is for 5 marks, or 2.5 each. Here you need to mention the theory properly while discussing the concept. In the lectures I had mentioned, I had also highlighted the fact that you need to learn the provisions because they are very important for exam. So the acceptance must be absolute and unqualified. I am looking out for the explanation along with example. See, in this case there is not much to write. So how will you create length in your answer? By writing example. Write the example in sentence form. You can also create your own example, but if you are well prepared with the example, then that is, it will save a lot of time and you will end up writing the correct explanation. So always go ready with the examples. It must be absolute and unqualified. The pointers which I am looking for, the words which I'm terms which I'm expecting you to write is that offer must be accepted as it is without any qualification, variation, modification. The acceptance must be a mirror image of offer. In case there is qualified acceptance, then that is not acceptance. In fact, it's a counter offer. Counter offer does not amount to acceptance. It's a new offer altogether. Then we will write an example for the same. Acceptance must be in the prescribed mode. Do you remember I had given you an entire chart for writing for this concept, that acceptance must be in the prescribed mode. So if the mode is prescribed, then acceptance must be in that mode only. Do you remember we had taken the example of a courier? Yes. So X, he offered to sell his motorbike to Y, and he told Y that you please send your reply by courier only. If Y sent a courier, very good. But if he sends regular post, then X has two options: either he will accept it or reject it. If he accepts the other mode, then he cannot claim compensation and cancel the contract later, saying that you had not accepted in the prescribed mode. You just need to explain this in sentence form, not the example, but this example itself will help you to write the theory. Okay. So over here, yes, it is already covered in your textbook. Acceptance must be in a prescribed mode. If it is not mentioned, then you must accept it in some reasonable manner. And you will also write the example. You can easily convert that chart into sentence form. That is how I have given it. So we basically had one case-based question and one theory question. I hope you were able to write. The theory you can write from my textbook, from my notes, and please ensure that you have included maximum points from that. This will carry weightage of 2 or 2.5 marks. You can get full marks. Okay, you can get full marks in this. So students, these were the two questions that I had chosen from the unit of acceptance. And with this, we also complete the chapter nature of contract. Next, let us discuss consideration.